Hey Star Trek fans, welcome to another Week in Trek. My name's Dan Gunther. Each week I bring you all of the Star Trek news as well as new Star Trek releases for the next 7 days. This week we have some more casting information for Starfleet Academy, some news about Lower Deck's final season, and some Paramount Global business news that has some Trek fans wondering what it means for the future of the Star Trek franchise. Without further ado, here's this week's news.
I promised the Federation News Service a first-hand account of the battle.
You'll get it.
First up, Star Trek Starfleet Academy has added a 6th cadet to its cast of characters this past week. Actor Sandro Rosta has just been cast in a role as a cadet in the newest Star Trek live-action series. As with the other cast members previously announced, we don't know anything about the role he is playing beyond the fact that he is a cadet. Sandro Rosta is a British-Canadian actor and model, a recent graduate of the Oxford School of Drama. With this latest addition, the cast of Starfleet Academy is rounding out quite nicely. I'm looking forward to learning more about the roles that these young actors will be playing, and I'll be sure to bring you that news as soon as we learn more. Following this year's San Diego Comic-Con, Star Trek Lower Decks showrunner Mike McMahan talked a bit about the final season of the animated Star Trek comedy, specifically giving some tidbits about the final episode of the series. Apparently, he rewrote portions of the script for the finale once it became apparent that the 5th season of Lower Decks would be its last. He shared this insight with Collider. "We kept adding and adding and adding to the finale because nothing was ever satisfying enough, and there weren't enough goodbyes to tell in a funny way. Ultimately, what we ended up with was a gigantic episode that's really fun." Another interesting insight into Season 5 is the revelation that, following fan feedback, McMahan decided to revisit the relationship between Mariner and Jennifer. In an interview with comicbook.com, McMahan had this to say: "There's this one episode this season with Mariner and Jennifer the Andorian. I felt like I had told a story with these characters that I really liked. And then I was seeing fan feedback being like, we love these characters, it didn't feel resolved. If they hadn't said that, then I wouldn't have been inspired to be like, well, we need to do one more episode with these guys." One thing that has continually surprised me about Lower Decks is how invested in the characters I have become. I love that you can have this little 30-minute Star Trek comedy that's mostly about laughs, but like any Star Trek series, it comes with a ton of heart involved as well. I'm going to be really sad to see these characters go after 5 seasons, and I think it's incredibly unfair that they won't get more screen time. They definitely deserve it. You can check out more post-Comic-Con interview insights over on trekmovie.com. I've linked their article in the video description. They get into more about Season 5, including some fascinating stuff about expanding Orion culture in the final season. I'm sure we'll also have lots more news to bring you about Lower Decks as we get closer to the October 24th release date for the 5th and final season. Finally, I want to talk a bit about another news story that has had Star Trek fans a little worried this past week, and that's the news that, in the wake of the merger between Paramount Global and Skydance, Paramount Television Studios has been shut down. Now, that sounds pretty scary if you're a fan of Paramount Television shows, such as, Star Trek. However, it's not quite as scary as it sounds. Paramount Television Studios was actually only established in 2013 and is one of 2 television studios under the Paramount Global umbrella, at least until this shutdown occurs. The other, CBS Studios, is the unit that's responsible for the Star Trek television shows. CBS Studios, which began life as Desilu back in 1950, is a much longer-lived and storied studio and is currently in no danger of being shuttered. In fact, a number of projects that were being worked on by Paramount Television Studios will now move over to CBS Studios. Regardless, the impact on Star Trek production is non-existent, at least insofar as this particular development is concerned. It's entirely possible that cost-cutting and cutbacks will affect Star Trek more than they already have, but as far as Paramount Television Studios being shut down goes, it will have no impact on the production of Star Trek on television.
Sometimes I think you North Americans read nothing but comic books and those ridiculous science fiction novels.
Just one new Star Trek release this week, the latest issue in the ongoing Star Trek flagship comic series. Star Trek number 23, with part 5 of the Pleroma storyline, is released on Wednesday, August 21st. Here's the synopsis from IDW. After defying the laws of physics to reach the Pleroma, Captain Sisko and the Theseus crew find themselves unwelcome. The gods want them home and warn that everyone will die if they don't leave, but they're too late, and their worst fears just might come true. The new god killer is on their doorsteps, and it's none other than Lore. Star Trek number 25 is written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, with art by Megan Levins. Check out the video description for links to purchase the digital edition from Amazon. And that's another Week in Trek in the bag. A big thank you to the Patreon supporters, without whom I wouldn't be able to do these videos. To everyone else, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications whenever a new video is published. And if you're a fan of Star Trek Prodigy, please join Brandy Jackala and I this Saturday in the Unready Room as we do a live stream talking about Season 2, Episodes 13 and 14, A Tribble Called Quest and Cracked Mirror. We'd love for you to join the live discussion and chat. And I will see you all again next week for another Week in Trek. Until then, as always, live long and prosper.